long-term sustainable and financially responsible solutions to managing green bin material. And this is, of course, the material that you put out in your green bin and you set it out on a weekly basis. Convertus was the successful bidder to the region's long-term contract to process green bin material using the latest state-of-the-art technology. York Region currently ships its green bin material to 4 separate processing facilities across the province. And it travels anywhere from 160 to 440 kilometers to these facilities. With this new facility, we can manage our own green bin material within our borders, eliminating the need to ship this material over great distances and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The location of this facility is ideal, as it's located right next door to our Waste Management Center, and at the Waste Management Center, we currently receive green bin material that's collected from our northern municipalities. Convertus has processed some of your region's green bin material at their facility in London, Ontario. And during this time, Convertus has been an excellent operator and has a good long-standing relationship with the region. Convertus has a proven track record and has previously demonstrated an ability to establish positive relationships within the communities that they're operating within. And we found this to be very true when we toured one of their facilities in Surrey, BC, and it's a similar facility, it's a biofuel facility, and that facility is actually located in an industrial commercial area within a kilometer, I think, from nearby residents. Tonight, not only do we have Convertus presenting information to help describe this new facility and benefits and answer any questions that you might have, and we also have Councillor Leahy here with a few other councillors, and Mayor Haxton, thank you for coming, to help share her experience and her thoughts as well. And when we first shared, when Councillor Leahy and Councillor Crone, our Ward 3 councillors, where this facility will be located, had first learned that the region's plans were to enter into a long-term contract with Convertus to design and build this new facility, they had a lot of excellent questions, so really good questions, and wanted to learn more about how this facility would work within the community. And we were able to do a tour with both councillors at the facility, the London facility, Convertus' facility that's located in London, Ontario, so they can see for themselves how this operates within the community. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Councillor Leahy, who's going to share her experience.
Thank you very much, Laura, and thank you to everyone who's come out tonight. And it's been a privilege to be asked to speak about this. We did, Councillor Crone and myself, went out to the facility in London, Ontario, and organized by Convertus and the region, in order to answer some of our questions in person, which was, the primary one is, will it smell? That's what the question I think on the top of everybody's mind is, will there be an odor? And so both as a resident and as a councillor, I was interested in learning more about the process and the answer to that question. And so I'm happy to say that after our experience with the tour, the answer to that question is no, there is no odor. And we're very excited because the building of this facility in York Region, which is going to handle the organic waste from not only East Gwillimbury, but York Region as a whole, we are leaders in the recycling and in terms of sustainability. We're also looking forward to this because the sustainability aspect is at the core of our strategic plan. And so we're excited about the facility going in and all of the environmental benefits that will be as an outcome of that. So for example, we won't have to ship all of our waste in the transportation, so it will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions as well. And then they'll be producing fertilizer, for a nutrient-rich fertilizer for our local farmers and communities, as well as bringing jobs that are part of the living wage employer aspect of being good partners in the community, and that's on a voluntary basis, as well as other opportunities in the future for investing and sponsoring and educating the community on the biofuel facility. So thank you very much for the opportunity to provide my feedback, and I'm not sure if Councillor Crone wants to add to what the tour experience was like in person, but I'm happy to also help answer any other questions from residents, because I am a resident of Ward 3, and we look forward to the future of being sustainable partners with biofuel and Convertus. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leahy. Appreciate your time. Okay, well, before we get started on the presentation, I think it's appropriate to introduce ourselves. So I'm Mike Leopold, I'm the CEO of the Convertis Group. This gentleman right over here is Jamie Jongsman, he's our CFO of the Convertis Group. And we also have joining us is Tej Gita from GHD, principal at GHD. Okay, so let's walk through a little bit of introduction of who we are for those who don't know about the Convertis Group and what we do. And then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation. I would say at this point in time, I'd ask you to hold your questions to the end. We are recording, and the main reason the recording is so that we can host it on a website so that those people who couldn't come tonight can then go back and see the slides and listen to the narrative around it. So if I just get you to hold questions till the end, that'd be great. So who's Convertis? Market leader with unique ability to design, build, finance, operate, and maintain. Most of the people in this space would need a technology partner. We have a technology partner. We own a company called WTT that's based in the Netherlands. They've built 130 organic waste treatment facilities around the world, so they've got a lot of background and a lot of history, and they're all under the same umbrella. So that's really what kind of sets us apart. Trusted partners. Why I say trusted partners is most of our relationships with our customers are long-term. So we have a facility in Surrey, British Columbia. We have a 25-year operating contract. We have a facility in Nanaimo, British Columbia. We have a 20-year operating contract. And now with the region of York, a 20-year operating contract. So we have long-term partnerships when we do this. World-class technology. One of the things that they always say is that Canada is about 20 years behind where the Netherlands and Germany is when it comes to recycling and dealing with waste. And that's because of necessity. Netherlands, they've run out of room. They don't have more land, and they're on a very small footprint. And so they've had to do this out of necessity. And so a lot of the technology that we use is based out of the Netherlands and has been used again and again and again. They've been 20 years further along the process than what we are here in both Canada and the United States. And then environmentally driven. So the purpose behind this is to help communities like Region of York, East Gwillimbury to get to their diversion targets and to keep organics out of the landfill. That's not where we want organics to go. We want to be able to turn it into a beneficial reuse product. So in total, we have 13 facilities, 2 in Ontario, York to be our third, 2 in British Columbia, and then that leaves 8 in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and we have 1 in Maine in the United States as well. We process over 500,000 tons of organic green bin material a year, and as well as wood waste. We generate 200,000 tons of finished organic compost, and we generate 80,000 gigajoules of renewable natural gas.
Like you said, I'm Jamie Jongsman, or Jongsman, depending on what part of the world you're from, but I'm the CFO of the Convertis Group. We had a couple slides just to give you a bit of insight into our business, and kind of this one particularly was sort of meant to show, we really strive for excellence kind of across everything we do. So the last live facility we built is the one that Lindsay referred to in Surrey, BC, and so in 2019 we were the Innovation Award winner in the Biogas Project of the Year Award for that facility. More recently, in our London facility, we won the Environmental Steward of the Year for Green Economy London, which is a not-for-profit environmental organization focused on kind of stewardship and protecting the environment. And we were finalists for the Environmental Leadership Award of the London Chamber of Commerce in 21, and we've been nominated again this year, so hoping for a little better success, but just kind of some information for underlying kind of the strive. And in this slide, sort of similar, I think Councillor Leahy also mentioned some of the impact we have in the community, so there's just a bit of background about kind of giving back to the community to development. So the first one is part of it, so that's the Progressive Aboriginal Relationship program, and that just shows that we are a company that can work in collaboration with Aboriginal, I think they've changed the name to Indigenous at this point, but with those groups. We are a living wage employer, which means we pay a wage in whatever region we operate that allows for basically paying for the real cost of living, which minimum wage doesn't always reflect. So whether that's in Vancouver or Toronto, we're paying a wage for people that allows them to live a life with family. And then just some of the environmental and sort of social justice things that are there. There's different things we do, and some of them in London we do a tree drive, compost giveaways, and specifically in the social justice, there's a lot of good organizations out there that have a bigger
So talk a little bit about our technologies. One of the things we kind of pride ourselves on is that we're not a one-trick pony. When I say one-trick pony, we have multiple technologies underneath our umbrella. So start on the left-hand side, which is our most advanced, which is anaerobic digestion. So this is what we're going to build in the region. And you can see already we put the rendering of the York facility up there, and we'll talk a little bit about it, obviously a lot about it, and we'll show you the renderings. Our flagship right now is our Surrey, British Columbia facility, and it's an anaerobic digestion facility. It's dry anaerobic digestion, but it also has composting, and it has a wet fermenter digester. So it's got 3 technologies underneath one roof, which is the first of its kind anywhere in North America. So that's why we call that our flagship facility. Then if we move over further, we have in-vessel composting. This is what we do in both London and Ottawa, as well as Nanaimo, British Columbia. Sorry to give you a grade 10 science lesson, but this is aerobic. So aerobic means with oxygen. Anaerobic on the far side means without oxygen. So you have to take the oxygen out in order to produce renewable natural gas. You keep the oxygen in when you do in-vessel composting. And so we're adding air in a large vat, and we're doing expedited composting. So long-term composting is outdoor windrowing. You might have heard of this with leaf and yard. Typically takes 4 to 6 months to turn it into compost. In our vessel systems, we're turning it into compost in about 14 days. So that's the advanced technology as well. We have a pelletizing plant where we actually take chicken manure and we turn it into a palletized OMAR certified, which means it's organic certified fertilizer that we sell both into the US and Canada. Actually, Scott's Lawn, Weed and Garden, we know, they actually buy this product and rebag it in 2-kilogram bags. And then finally, again, we have packaging plants. So this is the business that we acquired a little under a year ago in New Brunswick. They have 5 packaging lines. So we take the compost that we make in New Brunswick and we actually bag it, and a lot of it is distributed not only in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Maine, and the northeast of the US, but it's also here in Ontario. So if you've bought soil or compost from Canadian Tire, Sobeys, or Home Depot, it's a pretty good chance it came from our facilities out in New Brunswick. Okay, so what we're here to talk about is the biofuel facilities going in here in East Gwillimbury, region municipality of York. So we'll talk a little bit about it. Feedstock for this facility is an SSO green bin material. So I think anybody in this room who lives in this region probably has a green bin at home. You're putting your food waste in there. That's what's coming to this facility. That's what we're going to be looking after. Odor abatement is always a good topic everyone wants to know about. We've got a couple different types of odor abatement technology in here, and we'll walk you through that. So we've got an ammonia scrubber. The biggest thing that food gives off as it rots is ammonia. And so that's what we want to make sure we capture out of the air before we allow that air to go back out into the environment. We're also using UV treatment. So this has been proven to be a really good technology both in Sweden, Germany, and the Netherlands, and the company that we're partnering with called Centra Air. It'll be the first of its kind here in Canada. We've seen some really good results towards some of the facilities, and it's a really advanced technology. And in conjunction with that, we'll use an active carbon filter as well to polish the air before it goes out. There'll be a 25-meter dispersion stack. It's about 75 feet. That'll be located in the front. That'll be located in the southeast corner of the facility. I'll kind of show you on the map. We'll have 3 digesters with future capacity. We've got some drawings up here afterwards, and I'm happy to show you kind of where those 3 digesters will go. These are large tanks. This is where the material, after it's been depacked, will go into these tanks, and that's where it'll ferment when we pull off the renewable natural gas. And we'll have 1 digesting tank. So what the digesting tank is for is after this material is fermented, we then pasteurize it to remove E. coli, Salmonella, so that that's all out, and that becomes then a CIFA registered fertilizer that we would then sell. Outputs, this particular facility will produce somewhere between 250 and 350,000 gigajoules of renewable natural gas. That's enough gas to heat about 8,000 homes a year. An average home uses about 80 to 85,000 gigajoules a year. And we'll produce about 169,000 tons of CFIA registered fertilizer. Permitted capacity will be for 200,000 tons. We obviously do the permit larger than what we need, so if we ever have to expand, it's a lot easier. The input will be, the capability of the plant upon inception will be about 165,000 tons. What's the benefits of a facility like this for the region, for the city? On top of a little bit of environmental, so it'll produce enough energy. I have 4,000 homes, I told you 8. It's 8,000 homes, my math was off, so I apologize for that. There'll be a significant reduction in transportation distances. Lindsay touched on this a little bit earlier. A lot of York region's organic waste now goes outside the region, goes as far as London, as far as Ottawa. It'll all now stay inside the region, so it'll really cut down on greenhouse gas emissions from a lot of the transport trucks. 15,000 tons of CO2 per year is what they're forecasting for a reduction. On the economic side, it'll take us about 2.5 years to build this facility. That'll equate to about 50 to 60 full-time equivalent construction jobs, which include high-skilled labor such as electrician, mechanical contractors, obviously laborers as well. There'll be, when it's fully operational, will be between 12 and 15 full-time employees. So those employees are kind of broken down into maintenance people, process people, loader operators, and then salary staff. And we love students, so we work very closely with universities. We have a great affiliation with Western in London. We have a great affiliation with University of BC in Vancouver. And so most of our hires in those facilities have been students who work co-op with us. They did 1 to 2 terms, and then we hire them after their completing graduation. And I'm happy to see a lot of them, they promoted up through the ranks. One of our happiest, or one of the employees we're most proud about was a young lady we hired in BC when we first opened Surrey in 2017, and she's now our process manager for Surrey, and we hired her as a student, and she's worked her way up through the organization, so we're really proud of that. And then the cost-effective environmental sustainable solution for York Region. We did a calculation. Currently today, York Region trucks over 1 million kilometers to move that organic waste all over the province to be processed. This is a big advantage to them. This greatly reduces that. It should be less than probably 80,000 kilometers in total versus 1 million. Okay, ECAs. So this is the letter that came out. So of course this is a very regulated industry. We have to work with the Ministry of Environment. For those of you who are old school, now they're called Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Parks, I think, right? Conservation. We'll go with them. Ministry of Environment. So the Ministry of Environment, we have to have an approval from them in order to operate. So this is at the stage we're at right now. So we're going to submit that. It'll cover off our waste, our air and waste, and our industrial sewage works. Those are the sewer works. Those are the general categories, and there'll be one encompassing ECA. We cannot start any construction of this project until such time that we've received that ECA. So we're at the beginning of the process where we're ready to submit our application. That's what we talked about over here. So we had to go through and do a design and operation report, an acoustic assessment, a mission summary. A lot of this was done by Tej and his team. So we'll submit that. You guys have the letter because you're within a 1 kilometer radius of our site, and that's what we're required to notify from the ministry, but we decided to be a little more advanced, so we actually extended it out to 1.5 kilometers, especially on the eastern border. There's a 15-day commentary period after the notification of the mailer, and then we will submit the ECA to the ministry, and then the ministry will actually post it on their website for 45 days for comment as well. So here's just a map of why you got invited today. So typically you'd be inside that dotted line circle, which is a 1 kilometer radius around our site. But of course, I think we may have 1 or 2 residents from those 2 communities to the east, and that's where we extended that boundary because we wanted to be a little more proactive to make sure that those communities were part of this process to understand what exactly we're doing and the ability to ask questions as well. Okay, odor control. So the reason we're going to talk a little bit about odor control is this is usually always the hot topic. Most of you don't really want to get into what technology we use. Most people want to talk about what our odor control is. So our odor control system is best in class. This is again is Dutch technology. It's been proven again and again. We've used it not only in our facilities, but we've used it in some of our competitors' facilities. So the City of Hamilton, our WTT group, we actually did the odor abatement upgrade in the City of Hamilton site for them. So what it typically does is we're going to go through 3 different stages. First one is ammonia scrubbers. So this is a chemical reaction. Basically, it's a sulfuric acid solution that cascades down inside of an enclosed box with packing medium inside. And as the air rushes through that, it encapsulates the ammonia that's in that air, and it actually converts it into ammonia sulfate. And ammonia sulfate is a CIFA registered fertilizer that we'll sell to local farmers. So they'll put that on their spring wheat as well as on their soybeans. The next part is the UV technology. So this is ultraviolet light, which is used to destroy odor using a process called oxidization. Again, it's a Swedish technology. It's used in the Netherlands, Germany, and Sweden. Complex molecules like VOCs are converted into less complex molecules like water and CO2. And then the final polishing step is the active carbon filter. So after it's gone through the UVC, it'll go through the active carbon that will take out all the last fine particulates before it goes out into the air. Here's a breakdown of how this thing works, kind of on a cartoonish fashion. We'll grow on this on the website as we finish off our ECAs and get our approvals. If you want to go on to Surrey Biofuels, I think it's called odor management, you can actually see where it's like a cartoon drawing and it walks through that whole process. We'll do that exact same thing for this facility so that people can understand it in very layman's terms. I'll try to keep it in layman's terms. The middle square there says receiving and pre-processing building. This is where the organic waste will come into. We'll pre-process it by depackaging. That'll take care of all the plastics or any contaminants in it. And then the material will go into our anaerobic digesters down here with the little green bugs that you see. And in that anaerobic digester, we're going to start to pull off the renewable natural gas, and that's where it's going to ferment. When it's done, it goes into our digestate processing building. And I talked a little bit earlier about now we have to pasteurize that material before it can turn into a fertilizer. And all pasteurization is to remove any of those pathogens like Salmonella, E. coli out of that material before it can be used back on the farmer's field. That's where we're going to get the most amount of ammonia. So that's where we'll go through the ammonia scrubber to remove the ammonia out. And then on the top side, you'll see the pre-treated air. So that's all the air that comes through that receiving and pre-processing building. It's underneath negative pressure, so that means if you open the door, you'll feel a gust of wind suck into the building because we're going to be pulling air. It'll all go through up at the top. So it's through a dust filter to remove the particulate. Then it's going to go through our UV, it's treated there, and then finally the active carbon. The next step is a heat exchanger. This stuff is very warm air. It's warm air just from the biological activity. We actually reclaim that and reuse it back into our process to offset the amount of heat that we need to keep the process going, and then it'll go up the stack as clean air. Someone had asked earlier about what it would look like coming out of the stack. It's basically water vapor that's coming out of the stack. During the summertime, you won't even see it. During the wintertime, because it's going to be warm air coming out and it's going to be cold outside, it'll look like a white steam plume. So what I talked about is more of a reactive on the odor side. How are we going to treat the odor? One of the things we also do is we try to be proactive, and this is where we have odor monitoring. It's a system out of California called OdoWatch. We've been using it now for the better part of 6 years. We actually really, really like this. It helps us a lot. So it has what we call an e-nose. Inside our stack is a cluster of sensors. It's reading the odor units that are coming out that stack. We then also have a very sophisticated weather station located on the property. So it gives us barometric pressure, temperature, wind speed, and it does an analog calculation, and it can tell us anywhere around a 5-kilometer radius what the odor units will be at any particular point. And that's what you're seeing on this map up here. That's actually a map of Surrey. And so that blue plume, that is the direction that the wind is going, and that is where any of the air that's coming out our stack is heading towards. Blue is good. When it gets to yellow, which means it's getting to just the threshold of one odor unit, if it gets to 0.8, we automatically alarm our process people. So that's how we stay on top of this. And so we use this as a very, very good reactive tool or a proactive tool so we can stay out ahead of it. And then we can say, okay, wait, we're heading towards what we think may be an issue. How do we make sure that we don't get to an issue when we back it off? So we love this tool. It'll be put into this facility. We use it in Surrey. We use it in London. Great monitoring tool to be proactive. I'll Jamie talk a little bit about our other facilities.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so I mean, I think anybody can put on the suit with a nice PowerPoint and get up here and tell you everything we're going to do, but I think what maybe lends us a bit more credibility is that we've done this before with some success, and so we wanted to share with you kind of what our other facilities look like, including sort of the density around it. So I'll go back real quick to sort of the 1 kilometer radius of where we are today. And then if we go down to Surrey, this is the same map scale. And so within a 1 kilometer radius, we've got very significant dense commercial areas all around us. At the top of the circle, we've got residential, and at the bottom of the circle, we have pretty dense residential just outside of the 1 kilometer radius. And so this was built in 2017 and basically had the most advanced odor abatement system at that time, which included a biofilter. What we're putting in here is actually more advanced with the UVC and the active carbon filter. And this site has processed just over 100,000 tons of waste a year, producing just under 100,000 gigajoules of RNG plus compost. And we've had 2 or fewer complaints with several years of 0 complaints since that time. And so then the next closest site to here, which is our second largest next to Surrey, is our London compost facility. And so we did an odor abatement upgrade in 2021, basically exactly what we had in Surrey. We also saw a significant drop in complaints down to only 6 in 2022 and 0 year to date this year. And so this 1 kilometer radius is a little bit less dense than Surrey, but more dense than the one we are here today. So just at the top, we've got they just built the second super Costco. And just to the bottom, about 400 meters downwind from us, there's a cluster of homes there as well. So not as dense as Surrey, but it's slightly more dense than where we are today. We've had success with the same abatement technology, which again is a little bit outdated compared to what we're going to put here in this new facility.
Okay, and to finish up, I'll walk you through the project schedule. So high level, you'll see that we're in the design and permitting phase. That's where we're walking through right now. So we'll be submitting our permitting. Takes typically, we're allotted a year with the ministry to go through the permitting. Hopefully maybe a little bit quicker. And then in 2024, right around Q2, we'll start to do some of the material procurements. So this will be some of the construction materials to bring on site. And our plan is to start construction in the latter half of Q2 of 2024. So basically, end of spring, beginning of summer in next year, 2024, will be the start of construction. We're about 2.5 years, you'll see from that timeline on construction. Then we do a phase in 2026 called commissioning. So that's where we will do cold commissioning to start everything up, make sure it works properly, airtight, testing with just air. And then we'll get into hot commissioning where we'll start to bring in organic green bin material at certain rates as we ramp it up. And then the goal is to be in full operation in Q2 of 2027. And so to finish, we've got some renders so we can show you high level. This is done with our engineering group. I'll kind of walk you through high level. So bottom corner, this will come in off of Garfield Wright Boulevard. There'll be 2 entrances, one for the office and any visitors, and then one for truck traffic. Our goal is to make sure that there is no backup on the Garfield Wright. So we'll have the trucks come in, there'll be 2 scales, a scale in, a scale out, coming around there. They'll go around the back of the building, and then they'll queue on that big pad that you see up at the top. So that keeps them off of Garfield Wright Boulevard. They'll queue up there, and then they'll be backed into the facility. They'll drop their load. So the doors on the far right of the large building over here, those are for the offtakes. So that'll be for our digestate, and that will also be for any residual. Residual will be the plastics or whatever that we pull out. They'll be trucked out of that. And then incoming will be those 2 doors, and then those 2 doors are set back in. The 2 that are set back in are for curbside trucks. So that's better known as a garbage truck that you would see that would back into there. And then the other 2 will be long haul trucks. So there'll be a 53-foot walking floor trailer. And so currently the curbside trucks will be the ones that are going to the transfer station next to us that's owned by the Region of York. They'll come directly to us. And then the other ones will come from Earl Turcotte, which is located just south of the 407. And they'll be trucked up from that transfer station. That's where the long haul will be. And so in the back, it shows 6 tanks. What we will do is we'll be constructing 4. So the 3 in the very front and the 1 in the middle of the back. The other 2 are for future expansion. So 3 of the tanks will be used for anaerobic digestion, and 1 of the tanks will be used to store digestate before it gets transported out to farms. The small building you see in front of the middle digester, that's the pasteurization building, for lack of a better term. So that's where, after it's been fermented, it'll go in there. That's where it'll be heated and pulled off, or not pulled off, but kill all the salmonella and E. coli. So that's the pasteurization portion. And then the fertilizers, we started with small white tanks in front, you see, which then will be loaded all through a closed loop system back onto tanker trucks and trucked off the facility. Okay, let's go through a couple of the slides. So there's an aerial view. These panels you see on top of the building, those are solar panels. So again, we're very environmentally conscious. We put those on there so that we can use as little amount of electricity off the grid as possible. So we generate the solar electricity from that. The small gray square up on the top right, that will be the gas injection point. So it'll be run by Enbridge. There'll be a chain link fence around it, and the Enbridge will go in there, and that'll be where the gas is injected into their grid after we upgrade it. And then they'll run a line directly back to wood line, is where the natural gas line is that will be injected into. Okay? That'll be the office on the west side, so we can drive up the park, and it'll be the front entrance to come in. Again, those are the off-take bin bays. Next one. And then the ones over there will be our intake bays. The one to the far left is just simply a access for equipment for any type of maintenance, be able to get a small crane in or a lift truck, anything like that. So that is a summary. We've also got over here afterwards, we're happy if, we're going to take some questions, and then afterwards we're happy to walk through. We've got both the site layout as well as the office layout, or not the office, but the pre-processing building, which includes the office layout there that people can take a look at. So with that, I will turn it over to questions.
How are they getting water in the facility? Are they well?
So the only potable water we'll need will be for the washrooms and the showers. Go back
So
two
do
slides.
they have a pipe?
Go back two slides. There. So that stormwater pond at the back. So when you build a facility of this type, you're responsible to maintain your own rainwater. So that's any of those hard surfaces, all the paved areas, the rooftop, we're responsible for. So there is no storm sewers out there that we can put it into. So that's where the water retention pond is in the back, and that's where the rainwater will go. We'll use that rainwater in our process when we depackage the material. You asked me earlier, would we have excessive water? Yes, there'll be times where we may have to discharge from that pond because it's too full with some rain events, but there's very rigid steps we have to go through with the ministry. So we have to test the water in the pond, we have to get their approval, and there'll be a gate valve at the back that we would open, and we'd be allowed to drain the pond out from rainwater. You asked also, is there time where there won't be enough water? I think right now, Tej, I might ask for your help on this one. Based on our calculations, there'll be more than enough water ample in there for our process. Will there be a time where we think we have to pull from a well?
Possibly in the winter, there may be a period where there may be some supplemental water required. The incoming material has a lot of water in it.
Yeah.
This is big waste, so there's quite a lot of water coming in with the material.
So where are you going to put your well?
There is a well on that property right now.
There is?
Yep. No. I can't tell you the exact location, but I do know that there is a well on there, but we've seen it. So there is a well on that property. Our goal though is that the only water we're using from that well is for washrooms and showers.
If anyone has a question afterwards, will there be a contact, an email or a phone number that they can reach out to you folks? Or?
Yeah, so you can get a card from Mike Rod directly. On the letter, there was an inbox you can email to us, which goes directly to our compliance officer that's overseeing the ECA. And we also have a website that has contact information on there as well.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Fire away.
So if there's issues, complaints, is there like a 24/7 hotline? Do we call York, East Gwillimbury? Because I know when you have some fire burning issues, it's hard to locate anyone to...
Fantastic question. We would prefer that you call us.
So you're going to have a hotline?
We have a hotline. We actually have a hotline currently today because we're across a couple different time zones with British Columbia and Ontario. So we actually use a call center. We'll go out cards when we get closer, obviously, to operating, and they'll have a 1-800 number on it, and you'll call and they'll ask you, there's about 6 questions, of course, what facility are you calling about, what do you spell, time, and they go through those questions. They transcribe that, and it's immediately sent out to our environmental compliance guy, our ops manager, our process leader, and our process manager. They all get a copy of that.
So I read that you're only operating Monday to Saturday?
Correct, and Saturdays, we only would operate Saturdays if there was a holiday on a Monday or Friday. So our typical would be Monday to Friday.
Saturday to Sunday if there's something going on.
Sorry, what's that?
What's happening Saturday or Sunday if something's going on? Like who's there if something's going wrong with the facility? Who's there to look after it? Are there people actually there Saturday, Sunday, or no one's there?
Not typically. I mean, we might come in when I clean up on a Saturday. We typically don't ever usually work on a Sunday. So the receiving hall would be empty, everything would be in the tanks fermenting, and then it would be monitored both through the system.
So call people if there's an issue?
Absolutely, yeah.
And our Dutch team in the Netherlands, so they basically have 24 hours monitoring the site. So our WTD engineers have basically a control room where they oversee dozens of different facilities for us here and for their other customers in Europe. And so while our Canadian team is awake, we have on-call people that have 24/7 pings and access to the system. Exactly. And then in the evening, we have people awake in Europe that are monitoring, and if it is a severe alarm, they will wake up our team to come in.
Good question. And then so, sorry, back to the call in if you smell an odor or whatever. So we'll obviously have a 1-800 line, and then the other one, the option is you always have the option to go to the MECP. But we'll encourage people to come to us because we like to get out in front of it and deal with it. If you report it, the Ministry of Environment. But if you report it to them, they're going to call us. So we can cut out the middleman and call us directly, but you always have the right to. What's that? That's correct. They don't work on weekends. You get a better response from us. All right, well, thank you again for taking the time to come. I really appreciate it. There is also on the letter that you got, there is a link to a website where we've got a lot of FAQs. So we've actually tried to think of questions that people would ask and then write the answers to them. If there's questions you have that aren't on that, then by all means notify us. It's on, the email's on there. And then we'll obviously get back directly to you, but we'll also take that answer and put it back on. So that FAQ will be kind of a living document where we'll just continue to add to it as more and more good questions come in.
And some of the questions you've asked today, I think you guys were talking with Mike before, we'll have to pick his brain, but we'll basically take away all the questions we got today and kind of beef up that FAQ, so we're kind of building it as we go. Well, that's just personal one.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.